The 1983 Wolverine football season opened up on a very hot and humid day in Ann Arbor against Washington State. Michigan, rated number 1 by Sports Illustrated, opened up strong against the Cougars. David Hall, in at quarterback, subbing for the injured Steve Smith, engineered a 47-yard drive the first time the Wolverines got the ball and flipped a 6-yard TD pass to Eddie Garrett for a 7-0 Wolverine lead. It stayed that way through the first quarter, and opening the second quarter, the Wolverines were driving again when the Cougars came up with a very big play.
One lone running back in behind Hall. And trying to pass on it, he had the man open, interception, and it could go all the way. Could go all the way as Joe Taylor, the strong side safety, took it off the fingertips of Sim Nelson, the tight end, and races down for the Cougars for their first score, going 62 yards.
That play got the Cougars back in the game, and it was a dogfight the rest of the way. And with 9.5 minutes left, the Cougars had fought back to take a 17-14 lead. On the Wolverines' next possession, it was critical to come up with a big play, and tailback Rick Rogers obliged.
That's Rice in motion. Rogers on the pitch to him. Cuts inside to the 40, 45. He may go all the way. Got one man to beat to the 30. Beats him to the 20. And is brought down inside the 10-yard line. Coming up from behind, Cedric Brown for the save tackle.
The 52-yard effort by Rogers got Michigan in scoring position, and 2 plays later, David Hall got the call on the option.
Armstrong in motion. Fake handoff. Hall carries. Touchdown, Michigan!
The Wolverines pulled out a 20-17 thriller over the Cougars, and next week headed out to Seattle, Washington for a date with the highly regarded Huskies of the University of Washington. The Wolverines trailed at the half 10-3, but came out in the third quarter and totally dominated. On their opening possession, they went 72 yards in 13 plays, with Rick Rogers going over from the 5, and the game was tied at 10. Following an interception by Mike Mallory, the Wolverines again started driving, and Steve Smith, with his ailing right shoulder in a harness, looked as though he was in mid-season form.
Second down and 11 at the 36 of the Huskies. Smith looking, firing, complete. Bean makes a reception at the 16-yard line.
Smith converted that big pass play moments later by going over for the touchdown from 1 yard out, and it was a 17-10 Michigan lead. Then it was the defense's turn on the opening play of the fourth quarter.
Allure back, looking for somebody, pressure's on, fumble, and the Huskies cannot catch up with it. Michigan recovers in the end zone, touchdown Michigan!
At that point, the Wolverines had a 24-10 lead, and it looked like they'd go home at 2-0. But Washington put on a brilliant comeback of their own. With 9 minutes to play, Walter Hunt scored from 3 yards out to make it a 24-17 game. Then with just 34 seconds left to play, and Husky Stadium in a frenzy, Steve Pellure hit Mark Pattison in the end zone, and all of a sudden it was a 24-23 Michigan lead, and the Huskies decided to go for the 2-point conversion and the win.
Double tight end. Pellure trying to go to the air for 2, and they go. Goes to his favorite receiver, Larry Michael.
So the Wolverines let one get away from them, and the next week it was on the road again, and it was the Big Ten opener against Wisconsin, and it wasn't going well early. The Wolverines trailed 7-0 when the defense made the big play. Gary Ellerson fumbled, and Carlton Rose recovered on the Badger 11-yard line. The Wolverines then went on to score 22 unanswered points against Wisconsin before the half ended. Opening up the second half, Michigan continued their blitz, scoring 10 more. And before Wisconsin knew it, it was a 32-7 Wolverine lead. By the time it was over, the Wolverines had won their conference opener 38-21 over the Badgers, and they were headed back home to play Indiana. Against the Hoosiers, it was the Wolverine offense that opened up big. On their first possession, they went 70 yards in 5 plays, with Rick Rogers electrifying the more than 100,000 fans in attendance with a great effort from 35 yards out.
They moved Bean, the wide receiver, on the left side, Johnson to the right side, and the fake to Garrett, the pitch out of the option, going to Rogers around the right side, first down, cuts back in, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Michigan!
A few minutes later, the Michigan defense came up with the ball on a Mike Mallory interception, and it didn't take Steve Smith and Vince Bean long to turn that into a score.
Giovanni Johnson wide at the top of your screen on a 3rd and 5. Bean, touchdown! Strictly a one-on-one as Bean beat Nate Porter that time, the cornerback, and took him to the end zone for the touchdown.
While that 14-0 lead looked safe, Indiana kept coming back. And with 7.5 minutes left in the third quarter, it was a 24-18 Wolverine lead and very much in doubt. But on the very next series, Steve Smith made sure Indiana knew who was in control. He rolled around the left side on an option for 46 yards, and that got the Wolverines going again. They went on to score 19 straight points to put Indiana away 43-18, with tailback Kerry Smith going over 3 times himself, including this 18-yarder.
1st and 10, Wolverines. Kerry Smith turns the corner. Hello, 3rd touchdown of the afternoon.
The next week, Michigan traveled across the state to arch-rival Michigan State. The Spartans were still feeling good about their early season upset at Notre Dame, and they were thinking about a repeat performance against Michigan, but the Wolverines and Steve Smith had other ideas.
One back offense, need 11 yards for the first down, and I got it, and maybe a Michigan touchdown and carrying in for the score. Note Carthens. Carthens, who was playing the wing back on the right side, had nobody around him.
Throughout the game, the Wolverines dominated the Spartans. Evan Cooper neutralized the Spartans' great punter, Ralph Mozienko, with big returns like this.
4th down and 33 yards. Mozienko right barely into his end zone. Almost blocked that time, but he gets it away. A beautiful punt with a wind and taken by Cooper at the 40-yard line. 45, 50-yard line. Daylight down the sideline on the far side. Down to the state 25, 20-yard line, and a loose ball going out of bounds, and finally stopped down there. Desperation tackle by Bobby Morse.
On defense, Michigan harassed quarterback Clark Brown, and when he did get time to throw, Michigan was there.
1st and 10, Brown going to Manley, incomplete and picked off there by Cochran for his 2nd interception of the afternoon. And now Cochran still running free. Looked as if he was going to be nailed back at the 45-yard line. Got an additional 5 or 6 yards out of it.
By the time it was over, the Wolverines had scored a 42-0 shutout over the Spartans, and it was back to Ann Arbor for a battle with Northwestern. The Wildcats were no match for Michigan. The offense rolled for a pair of touchdowns in the first quarter alone as Steve Smith mixed it up between the pass and the run, and the Wildcats were on their way to becoming the Wolverines' 4th straight victim in the Big Ten. And while the offense was rolling, the defense began to show tremendous improvement, and the Wildcats quarterback Sandy Schwab had no chance for most of the day.
Schwab tried to find somebody. He's going to be brought back into the end zone, but the official says, nope, I'm going to rule it dead at the 1-yard line. So instead of a safety for Michigan, a little bit of a break for the Wildcats. Hassel in there to wrap them up.
By the time it was over, the Wolverine defense had recorded their 2nd straight shutout as Northwestern fell 35-0. The next week came one of the 3 big tests for Michigan in the Big Ten. Nationally ranked Iowa came to Ann Arbor, and it was tight all the way. The Wolverines battled their way to a 13-3 lead into the opening minutes of the 4th quarter when the Hawkeyes went to their bag of tricks to get back in it.
There's the fake. Grogan, a quarterback, looking for somebody, fires, touchdown. Going to the tight end, Olazak.
The TD made it a 13-10 game, and on the following kickoff, Michigan fumbled and Iowa hit another field goal to tie it up. The whole 4th quarter, it seemed, was played on Michigan's side of the 50. Iowa continually threatened, but the Michigan defense time after time came up with one big play after another to keep Iowa from getting the lead. And then with Iowa driving inside the Michigan 30 with less than 2 minutes to play, the defense did it again.
Gill, find a daylight, fumble, Michigan! Recovered by Rodney Lyles. Maybe, just maybe, that's the break the Wolverines have been looking for.
With the score tied at 13, the Wolverines had just a minute and 30 seconds left to get in scoring position from their own 29. Smith called on Rick Rogers to get it done.
Little swing pass out, screen down for Rogers. Rogers across the 50, now changing direction to the 40, getting down to the 36-yard line. Finding daylight in there and finally stopped by Hunter.
That got it down close enough, and with 12 seconds remaining, the Wolverines called on Bob Bergeron to win it.
Decker, down. Bergeron's kick, up, has the distance. It is good! It is good! With 8 seconds remaining in the clock, Bergeron has broken a 13-13 tie. The Wolverines have gone on top, 16-13.
The incredible 16-13 win over the Hawkeyes set up the showdown in Champaign the following week with Illinois. Both Michigan and the Illini were unbeaten in conference play, and the game would, in effect, decide the Big Ten Rose Bowl representative. The Wolverines couldn't get untracked offensively against the Illini, and at the half it was a 7-3 Illinois lead thanks to a 9-yard Trudeau to Rook's TD pass. Michigan got to within 1 point at 7-6 in the third quarter, but the Illini opened the fourth quarter with this play, and it broke the Wolverines' back.
Here we go, fourth quarter of action. 15 more minutes, and this has been a war, a battle. 7-6 to score. Illini leading, and a pass to Williams. First down into Michigan territory. He'll go all the way. Touchdown, Illinois.
It wound up at 16-6 Illinois, and the heartbreaking loss to the Illini cost Michigan the Rose Bowl. But it didn't cost them their pride as they began their march in the final 3 games to a date with Auburn in the Sugar Bowl. Steve Smith had his shoulder harness removed the next week for Purdue, and the Boilermakers were the victims of a 100% healthy Smith.
Second down and 7 at the 29-yard line of the Boilermakers. Smith faking, keeps it on the option, a lot of daylight. 15-10, could go all the way, cuts back in, touchdown. A bit of nifty running by Steve Smith that time from the line of scrimmage at the 29-yard line, and Smith scoring his 5th touchdown on the ground this year.
In addition to Smith's exploits on the day, the special teams got in on the act. Jeff Cohen blocked a Purdue punt, and Carlton Rose fell on it for a touchdown as the Wolverines were in no way sulking after the loss to Illinois. Smith's shoulder problem was clearly gone. He riddled the Boilermakers for a Michigan record 4 touchdown passes.
2nd and 11. And Smith with a lot of time. Mark Ray wide open. 1st and 10, Wolverines at the Boilermaker 30-yard line. And Smith wanting to go to Bean. Touchdown, Michigan. Back to throw this time. Has a man open. And touchdown, Michigan. Steve Smith on the blitz. Passing, complete, touchdown to Vince Bean.
The final was Michigan 42, Purdue 10, and Steve Smith was just beginning. The following week against Minnesota in the new Metrodome in Minneapolis, the Golden Gophers were the sad victims as Smith picked up where he left off against Purdue.
And Minnesota faking a blitz that time, a long count. And on the option play, Smith comes up the middle, cracks it open, could go all the way, down to the 35, 20. Touchdown, Michigan.
Whether it was passing or running, Smith and the Wolverines were hot, and Minnesota couldn't do a thing about it.
Mark Ray and Bean are the wide receivers. Mark Ray makes a pass, breaks the tackle, he's got the good speed, could go all the way, and will go all the way.
The Wolverines rolled up 31 points in the second quarter and went on their way to a 58-10 blowout of Minnesota, and that set up the finale in Ann Arbor against the Buckeyes of Ohio State. The Sugar Bowl was riding on this one, and the Wolverines came out shooting from the hip.
Fake to Rogers. Smith with plenty of time. Good blocking. Firing deep. To Mark Ray. Could go all the way. Will go all the way. Touchdown, Michigan.
The Wolverines jumped to a 10-0 lead, but Ohio State found themselves and fought back behind their big tailback Keith Byers to take a 14-10 lead late in the third quarter. But once again, it was the Michigan defense which rose to the occasion.
Domzak wants to pass. And picked up by Cochran, intercepted. Cochran, flag has gone down. Cochran brings it back to the 29-yard line, 28-yard line. However, there is a flag at the 31 of Ohio State. We'll wait for the call.
Smith converted that turnover moments later, going in from the 1, and the Wolverines had retaken the lead at 17-14. Another Buckeye fumble gave Michigan another chance, and Smith went upstairs to get the big play on a 2nd and 8.
2nd and 8 at the 45. And Smith going to the air, going deep. He's got Mark Ray over there. Complete at the 20-yard line. Mark Ray somehow slipped in between 3 defenders. Buckeyes makes the reception and gets in at the 20, knocked out of bounds by Garcia.
The Wolverines then worked it down inside the Ohio State 10-yard line with 7 minutes to play. And once again, Smith went to the air to put this one away.
Garrett and Kerry Smith remain in as the running tandem. Steve Smith looking, he's got a man open. Caddis, touchdown! Eric Caddis makes the reception, the junior from Cincinnati, Ohio, for his first reception of the year. It's a touchdown reception.
Michigan went on to beat Ohio State 24-21 to finish the season at 9-2, ranked once again in the top 10 of the football polls, and once again on their way to another major bowl, the Sugar Bowl of 1984, and a date with third-ranked Auburn. The Wolverines met Auburn at the Superdome in New Orleans before a sellout crowd and national television audience on the night of January 2nd. The Tigers, with a shot at the national title, were loaded and at an emotional peak, but the Wolverines had a big surprise for them. Behind Steve Smith's passing and the running of Rick Rogers, Michigan marched 67 yards and scored. Smith went around right end, and it was a 7-0 Wolverine lead. From that point on, the crowd and television audience saw one of the greatest defensive efforts in many years. The Wolverines, outsized at almost every position, put on a display of determination that was incredible. Auburn's wishbone backs were awesome, led by Heisman candidate Bo Jackson, but the Michigan defense was so aroused and well prepared that the wishbone was nearly broken. At every turn, when Auburn tried to turn the corner, a Wolverine was there. For the entire 60 minutes, the Michigan defense simply would not allow one of the most explosive offenses in the country to cross the goal line. Auburn was held to just 3 field goals, but the last one with just 27 seconds left to play was enough to win it 9-7, and Michigan had lost. But the effort against Auburn did not go unnoticed, as Michigan remained in the nation's top 10, not dropping one spot despite the loss. So the '83 season ended in New Orleans on a sad note, but the effort in the Sugar Bowl was anything but sad. And the Wolverines look forward to 1984, opening up at home with a shot at #1 as they meet the University of Miami.